Federal government releases 1 billion naira grant to 4 states for pilot ranching. The United Nations reveals that Africa's current untapped export potential amounts to $21.9 billion. Plus, oil prices slumped by more than 2% on Monday as surging cases of Omicron variant in Europe and U.S. stock investors' worries. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Now let's begin with Africa's export potential. The federal government has taken a third trip into the Sukuk bond market to pursue key infrastructure projects in the country, speaking on the 250 billion naira 10-year debt. Director General of the Debt Management Office, Patience Oniha, said the focus is on roads and bridges cut across the Federal Capital Territory, Federal Ministry of Works and Housing, and the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs.
We're using the Sukuk to raise money for the government to finance road projects. So the Sukuk is different from the other securities we issue in the market. You know, we issue Nigerian treasury bills, we issue Federal Government of Nigeria bonds. With these ones, we are financing specific projects. And under the requirements for issuing non-interest banking products, we need to tell you what it is we are financing. So for these ones, that's why we need to have press sessions and investor meetings such as this. So we tell you these are the projects we are going to finance, and after you have given the money, giving us time to implement, you can come and see the projects that we have financed.
The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has revealed that Africa's current untapped export potentials amounting to $21.9 billion, equivalent to 43% of inter-African exports. The organization, in its latest report on economic development in Africa, said an additional $9.2 billion of export potential could be released or realized through partial tariff liberalization under the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, over the next 5 years. The report says to unlock the untapped potential, various inter-African non-tariff barriers, including costly non-tariff measures, infrastructure and market information gaps, need to be addressed. This requires joint efforts under the AFCFTA. It noted that AFCFTA could reduce COVID-19-induced growth, contraction, poverty and inequality trends, while spurring sustainable and inclusive growth on the continent if strong support targeting women, young traders and small businesses are implemented. The third Turkey-Africa Partnership Summit has ended in Istanbul with the adoption of a joint declaration of commitment on to further strengthen and deepen the win-win cooperation in the interests of the states and their peoples. Participants also commit themselves to cementing collaboration on current issues in the global arena, including health, peace, security, governance, as well as justice.
Will tolerate any kind of insurgency in their own area. And I think Nigeria has tolerated this thing for quite a long time, almost 10 years. But with all these requirements we are now making efforts to have, I'm sure the end of banditry insurgency will come to an end very soon.
Yeah, for the Ministry of Health was an opportunity to touch bases with the Turks and tell them what our main interests are in developing primary health care, strengthening secondary health care, and improving our super specialty hospitals like ear centers, eye centers, and head and neck centers. And it also opens to the Turks what opportunities there are in Nigeria for investment. They are eager to connect with Africa, and Nigeria, of course, is a very promising destination when it comes to connecting with Africa. And in that respect, investment opportunities exist.
The federal government says the nation's diversification agenda is achieving positive results with more investment being attracted into the country. As at the first half of this year, investment announcements were at $10.1 billion, an increase of 100% in 2020. And with President Muhammadu Buhari's engagement across the globe, more is expected moving into the new year.
With Expo 2020, we hope to build on existing partnerships between our two countries while also further developing our trade relations, aiming to surpass the $1.3 billion in non-oil bilateral trade achieved in 2020, thereby benefiting both of our nations.
Nigeria's pavilion at Expo 2020 clearly shows why we remain the most viable and attractive investment destination in Africa. Our location, our natural resources, our population, and our regulations are there for all to see. Nigeria on its way to becoming a leading industrial and trading nation in Africa. I look forward to welcoming you all to Nigeria very soon.
Joining me to look at the takeaways from the ongoing Dubai 6 Months Expo is a serial media creative and social entrepreneur, CEO, Doxa Digital, Doxa Group Nigeria. She is Dayo Benjamin's Lani. You're welcome to Business Express.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, well, let's talk about the Dubai Expo. The president has led his, led a delegation to Dubai purposely to seek partnership. How important is this partnership?
Well, I believe that more than anything else, it's pivotal, and it has prioritized not just partnership, but the collaborative, intentional will of both governments in building a bridge and also establishing that critical connect. I think for me, the most exciting thing about the Nigeria-UAE posturing or positioning is the posture of Nigeria, which clearly implicated by His Excellency's visit, as well as the various engagements that took place during that visit, positions Nigeria for what the United Arab Emirates will is to bring about a connection. It's no longer about Nigeria and Africa and the Western world. It's not, no. What the United Arab Emirates represents is a convergence of an entire virtual as well as physical intersection of business, enterprise, advocacy, creative energy. It's the power of the very next things. And with the African Free Trade Continental Agreement, this just gives us, as a nation of entrepreneurs, such an amazing destination in terms of the products that we as Nigerian entrepreneurs, Nigerian innovators, Nigerians in corporate governance, Nigerians administrating opportunities through institutional governance are able to deliver? Well, I know there's so much more to say,
Okay,
so I'm obviously
what areas
excited.
are we actually looking at beside governance?
Well, in terms of governance, like I said, first of all, governance, I look at governance in terms of leadership. So when I talk about institutional governments at whatever level, like His Excellency Vice President led the delegation that had to deal with the oil and gas sector. A week before then, we had the Foreign Investment Network, and they were working with people who had to do with solid minerals. In fact, the United Arab Emirates committed $2.2 billion to solid mineral investment in Nigeria. And through Nigeria, that integration spreading across Africa. The Honorable Minister of State for solid minerals was present. And this wasn't just a promise, it was a delivery of commitment for the next steps of engagement. Those activations clearly are activations that take it forward. We had an opportunity to engage women. In terms of the investment presentation, we had Stella Ibiene Fubara there with the team from the Expo 2020 representation. I mean, having someone like Stella there in the first place, not as a Nigerian for Nigeria, but it's a global representation of Nigerian administration, leadership, and intervention, also tells the story of who we are as an Africa brand to the world, but more importantly, an Africa brand, an after brand to the UAE.
Okay, in terms of capacity, how ready are we for this partnership?
Now, when you say we, let me first take the fact that as women entrepreneurs, we are the single largest convergence of entrepreneurs anywhere on the face of economic entrepreneurship in the world. The Nigerian woman entrepreneur, our demographic puts us at #1. We are ready. We've been ready from the time our mothers were harvesting from the fields, from the farms, and going to the market to sell so as to sustain community along with family. So as Nigerian women entrepreneurs, we've been ready, we are ready, and we're taking this every stretch of the delivery of it. But it's not about a gender with agenda thing. It's more about, because you said we, I said, let me go to my first we, which is women in enterprise. Women in business, management, political advocacy, women engaging all of those opportunities, but not just as women, for women. But it's about the leadership, the quality of leadership in terms of institutional enterprise. PEBEC the other day celebrated 5 years. That's the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. And I mean, the milestones there are milestones that don't just hit home, they have global representation. So how ready are we? The political will is there. The will, the entrepreneurial will. Now, some people will look at it and say, but post-COVID, look at what is happening. Post-COVID, look at what is happening. It's incredible what is happening. Innovation is happening. I'm an entrepreneur in this city, and I want to say that the interventions that have come, both from our government to help enterprises to have a place of stabilizing in the midst of the COVID storm, that was an intervention that went to our workers, that went to the next steps for strategizing. Because what post-COVID has happened is businesses, business leaders have moved from just striving to survive to thriving through the motions of post-COVID. And how?
Okay,
First of all, with
you actually
strategy.
talked about engagement.
Yes.
What are the takeaways from these engagements that you had?
We're now looking at the UAE, right?
Yeah.
We're looking at that. In terms of engagements, you're looking at investment opportunities from agriculture, right? Solid minerals, the oil and gas, creative. Engineer Mansour Ahmed, representing the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. I mean, there he was on the CNN profiling the interview. And you could see the excitement, the energy. Look at the diversity of the creative entrepreneurs there at Expo 2020. It's not just about something that's happening for a moment in time. You're looking at something that is now tracking other engagements, contracts, expressions of interest, not just within the UAE, but coming to Nigeria, so that we're able to set up accelerator hubs, innovation that crosses from what is physical to a market space that is virtual, that is global, that is the now 2022 and looking beyond is sweet.
Okay, talking
for the
about
entrepreneur.
2022.
Yes.
When should we expect the fusion from this engagement?
It started.
Okay.
The fusion is the reason we're having this business update. The fusion is the fact that you and I are. Look, I'm completely sold out. It's not just a patriotic entrepreneur, but the reality is, in looking at all of the social challenges that have coming, and yes, that have created a state of, in certain areas and engagements, economic paralysis. I really think the challenge is paralysis, analysis paralysis. So much has been analyzed. Speak to us, the entrepreneurs who are really going entrepreneurial, who are really innovating, working with the youth, working with women who have to make sure that they come home not just with bacon but with pomo. You know, the pomo that you're able to cook with, and we're able to do so much more. So yes, beans will be more expensive than rice, but you know what? We are innovating, and we're coming up with very, very...
Okay, what opportunities should women be taking advantage of?
Women take advantage.
Women entrepreneurs.
Women entrepreneurs. Look, every woman is an entrepreneur. Like I tell them, every woman is a politician. Look around you. There's so much happening. The Bank of Industry. In fact, there's so much happening to engage women at all levels of intervention. Working with the UN, working with our own government, working with the CBN, working with women in management and business. There are all kinds of advocacies working for women, with women, through women. Whoever you are, you're a woman. In faith-based institutions, I am working with women. Find a woman who is able to resolve what there is. Nexim is set up the a Women and Youth Enterprise Fund. You have NEPSA. You have what is it with the NE, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, where our DG Segun Awilo, non-oil, I call him the non-oil crusader for non-oil export and for women in particular. All of these programs are not programs that are being made up. Believe me, they are programs that are real. You say, well, how about you, Dio Benjamin Lani? Have you benefited from the programs? I roll out programs. So what I do as an enterprise communicator is I communicate what I am opportuned because of my platforms to know about, and I present it to the various platforms. But as an entrepreneur, from the time I left Youth Corps till this date, which is over almost 30-something years, I have worked as an entrepreneur with my principal seed coming from my CEO,
Okay,
my
how is the
husband.
Nigerian woman and women and youths ready? I mean, how ready are they to take the advantages?
Well, let me put it this way. There are two things. Emotionally, if you don't believe there are advantages, even if everywhere is screaming advantage, you don't go for it. What is an advantage? What you give yourself positionally to take, to hold, and to run with. You dream, you have a dream, an idea, and you work it till you get
But
people
are
are
they
saying,
ready?
I need money.
Are they ready to take this advantage?
That's why I said the political will, governmental will is one thing, but you must have an entrepreneur must have the will. Are you ready? That's the question I should ask you. I have a huge movement of youth that are ready. Amongst my own peers, I find that women are like tired, weary. But then when I find women like me who decide that we keep on trying and thriving because we keep seeking and finding the next opportunities. You don't need a lot of people. We just need enough. And for me, that is the real message of Nigeria at the cusp of everything we are at right now. Unity, faith, peace and progress. I'm a patriotic believer with the right heartbeat. Believe, only believe, really, that's it, because the opportunities are, they're magma.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dio Benjamin Lani.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Government will continue to partner the private sector in ensuring the availability of ICT infrastructure to enhance job creation for the Nigerian youth. Senior Special Advisor to the President on Job Creation, Afolabi, was speaking on the theme Discovering Your Potentials at the Surge Entrepreneurship Summit in Abuja.
the amount of global funds, investment that are coming into our tech space is enormous. Ventures Park just 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, 2 days ago, announced a closure of their fund, $4 million. And these funds are going to go into our investment. It's a Pan-African fund. Nigeria, we know, is going to benefit a lot, and other African countries. So the reality is that the tech infrastructure will be grown by a partnership between public and private. And I dare say largely the private sector. What you need from government is really just policy.
Oil prices slumped by more than 2% on Monday as surging cases of the Omicron coronavirus variant in Europe and the United States stoke investors' worries that new restrictions on businesses to combat its spread may hit fuel demand. Brent crude futures fell $1.92 to $71.60 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell $2.09 to $68.77 a barrel. Now let's take a trip to the commodities market. Stock market operators optimistic of bullish trend ahead of Christmas holidays. Bossett Abel has more on the market in the week ended.
The NGX All-Share Index in the week ended 17th December appreciated by 1.12% to close the week at 42,353.31 basis points, with market capitalization rising to 22.1 trillion naira. 1.3 billion shares worth 15.3 billion naira in 18,292 deals were traded in the week by investors. All other indices finished higher, with the exception of Mainboard Banking, AfriBank Value, AfriDeviewed, Mary Growth, and oil and gas NGX indices, which depreciated, while the ASM, Growth, and Sovereign Bond NGX indices closed flat. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 899.7 million shares valued at 7.3 billion naira traded in 9,326 deals. The consumer goods industry followed with 209.5 million shares worth 2.7 billion naira, while the third place was the conglomerates industry. Trading in the top three equities were FBN Holdings, International Breweries, and Access Bank, which jointly accounted for 469.8 million shares worth 4.1 billion naira in 1,958 deals. By the end of the week, 20 units of exchange-traded product ETPs valued at 231.3 million naira were traded in 2 deals, as well as a total of 15,560 units of federal government bonds valued at 15.9 million naira in 11 deals. 32 equities appreciated in price in the course of the week, 28 equities depreciated in price, while 96 equities remained unchanged. Bossett Abel, business experts.
Global stock market reviews next.
Just as investors are wrapping up this year's trading, the threat of new lockdowns sent shock waves through markets across the world. European markets fell sharply on Monday as the rapid spread of the Omicron COVID-19 variant still triggers stricter containment measures across the continent. CAC 40 of France slipped 2.01% at 6,785.74. London's FTSE also dropped 1.69%, while Germany's DAX slipped 2.79%. In Asia, stocks were lower, with multiple major markets in the region seeing big losses as China slashed its benchmark lending rate for the first time in more than 1.5 years. Mainland Chinese stocks closed lower, with the Shanghai Composite down 1.07% at 3,593.60. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index also slipped 1.93%, while in Japan, the Nikkei 225 was down 2.13%. In US, stock futures were also lower in early trading following a losing week as investors continue to grapple with the resurgence of COVID-19 cases and an upcoming shift in the Federal Reserve's easy monetary policy. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 540 points, S&P 500 dipped 1.58%, and Nasdaq Composite 1.62%. Mixed trading heralded the new trading week in Africa, although expectations are high that the volume of trade expected this week will result in positive sentiment that will go well into the new year. And that's it for me. It's back to you, Musa.
Well, that's it. Business Express returns Tuesday by 9:30 a.m. I am Musa Abubakar.